control the food, you control the people. If you control the energy, you control the continent. If you control the money, you control the world.
What happens in our society when we have people in the highest positions of power who deny the existence of objective truth? What happens is then there is no such thing as truth. There is no such thing as reality. Truth becomes whatever the people in power at any given moment want it to be.
It seems as if the Stormont estate is run by Conor Murphy's office. It seems as if that it has got so bad that if a disabled man is coming to a protest using his democratic right in the seat of our Parliament in Northern Ireland, it seems as if that disabled person has to walk, I'm sure, half a mile to get to that protest. And people within the Stormont estate will not facilitate a disabled person if he's coming to a protest using his democratic right. Disgraceful. People, why did that happen? That happened because the Stormont estate, the sale has been agreed. Disgraceful. Boris Johnson and Boris Johnson's government has agreed to sell Northern Ireland Unionists to this so-called New Ireland.
Not without a fight. Who's up against you there?
Sale agreed. Sale agreed. Now, using our democratic right, people, we have quite a few of these sale agreed signs, and we're going to be pinning them in Stormont today. Sale agreed. Whilst I say that it's sale agreed, it's not yet sold.
We shall not be moved.
And we will never, ever consent to the sale of everything that we've ever believed in. We will never consent to the sale of our British birthright. We will never consent to Northern Ireland being sold to this so-called New Ireland. Doug Beattie, Jeffrey Donaldson, and whoever, we will never agree. So don't be thinking for 1 minute that you're going to take us there. Isn't it as well, people?
And will not be sold by false gold.
Isn't it as well that we have Plan B? That Plan B today is the TUV. Isn't it as well that the TUV are here in our hour of need? And you believe me, this is our hour of need. Stormont doesn't have to be sold, even although that the sale is agreed. It doesn't have to be sold. So in May the 4th, May the 5th, get out and vote for people, ordinary people who have produced, who have nurtured, and who have ensured that a party of the people would be there when it is much needed to stand by, to fight for the rights of ordinary citizens of Northern Ireland. People
Well, good evening and welcome to another Restore UK live, going out live on a Wednesday evening. And I mean, if I could just say that if the people that's on the live chat, and I have to say the numbers are going up from right across the platforms, for the people that's on the live chat this evening, if you could share this channel, if you could share it far and wide, if you could do the usual, if you could tag people into the live chat, I mean, going out to the Restore UK platform that's on Facebook, also to the British Unionist People's Voice, also on Facebook. If the people that are on there, if you could actually share the channel, share it to your nearest and dearest, into closed groups, into open groups, open pages, wherever it is that you can share to. And also, as I say, yet again, if you would please tag people into the live chat. Now, what you'll have seen as we started off there is that we started off with a rally that we had at Stormont just in Easter there on Good Friday, just past in 2022. And the reason why we had that rally at Stormont was that we wanted to protest against the fact, the absolute fact, is that the Belfast so-called Good Friday Agreement, well, it doesn't work for British Unionists. It only works for nationalists, Republicans. It only works for globalists whenever globalists want it to work for them. It works for the EU. It works for those in the Conservative Party that would sell their soul for a small amount of money. And it works for those from within our own community that would be happy to roll with whatever comes down their line. And why? Well, as you'll have seen Jim Werner there, well, we won't be sold for 30 pieces of silver or a couple of pieces of gold. And there are those, and we're going to show this conclusively this evening, there are those from within our own community here in Northern Ireland, those in leadership roles that would hand us over tomorrow if it meant that they could further their career prospects, and at the expense of what? At the expense of the people of Northern Ireland. So once again, before that we start, and we've got a lot lined up for you, I would like for you to share this out. Share this far and share it wide. Share it with your nearest and dearest and to anywhere that you can. I'm looking across onto the YouTube channel, and there's people watching on the YouTube channel. And if you can also, if you can share it, if you can copy what it is, the link on the YouTube channel, and if you can share it out as far and as wide as possible. And looking at the Twitter, yes, there's people also watching on Twitter, and also to you people, if you can share this channel far and wide. Now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to, I've got a succession of video clips for to play, but staying on the subject of Brexit, staying on the subject of the current goings on in Westminster, staying on the subject of the fact that these people just behind me here in the European Union, staying on the fact that those people, well, they have occupied Northern Ireland. They have illegally occupied Northern Ireland, and they are attempting to derail Northern Ireland from the rest of the United Kingdom. And I have to say they are doing a fairly good job. And we're going to show you exactly why that it is that they're able to do that job. So stay tuned. And again, I ask for people to tag people into the live chat in order that we can get the numbers up this evening, and in order that people are left in absolutely no doubt as to the reasons why that we find ourselves in the position that we find ourselves in today. So staying with the subject of Brexit, and before that we move on, I want to play something that was quoted by Doug Beattie of the Ulster Unionist Party just a few days ago. Now, to those of you that would have seen my presentations in different places where we have presented about this landing zone, and about how that it is that there is a solution in place for the protocol bill, which is this thing called the landing zone. For those of you that would have seen the presentations that I've done in different parts of Northern Ireland, well, what we're going to do is that we're going to add to that presentation today, because this was something that we heard from 2019 from the Ulster Unionist Party. We heard it from 2019, but we weren't able to get the clip until Doug Beattie, until that he mentioned it again just a few days ago. Now, let me quote what it is that you call this screen. Deny objective truth. I say that again. If you deny objective truth, then truth, it becomes irrelevant. Now, what is an objective truth, you ask? Let's play a short video clip and then we'll come back. And what we'll do is that we'll talk about objective truth before that we move on.
In our society, when we have people in the highest positions of power who deny the existence of objective truth, what happens is then there is no such thing as truth. There is no such thing as reality. Truth becomes whatever the people in power at any given moment want it to be.
So objective truth, what is this concept of objective truth? Well, an objective truth is that you see in front of your screen here, you see a picture behind me with European flags. And the truth of the matter is that that is a picture with European flags. That is what's known as objective truth. You see in front of your screen, you see a man with a beard, a man with a name, John Yates. And what you see in front of you is an objective truth. Presenting to you this evening is a man. It's not a John that could suggest for some reason that he's now John in. An objective truth is exactly what you see in front of you as the truth. But what happens whenever leaders within society, they deny the existence of objective truth and they present people with their own truth? Is and will truth be dead as a result? Now that's a question. That is a real question which has huge significance and huge relevance to what it is that we're here to talk about this evening. Denying objective truth, then truth becomes irrelevant. And there are too many leaders, too many people in positions of power today that are denying the objective truth that sits right in front of them. We talked about last week normalcy bias. Normalcy bias is where that there is a huge present danger sitting in front of people. But what they do if they are displaying traits of normalcy bias is that they disown the problems, the clear and present dangers that are sitting right in front of them. And what they do is they take the good parts and they convince themselves in their own minds that, well, we should press on because this is good. This is good for the people that I represent. This is good for the people that we represent. So what we should do is that we should press on. For an example, we're talking about the protocol bill. We're talking about the protocol bill, the Northern Ireland protocol bill, which in effect is a snakes and ladders bill, which in effect does nothing to take out the European Union from interfering in the affairs of this part of the United Kingdom, being Northern Ireland. And yet our leaders, they display this normalcy bias, taking the good parts or what they perceive to be the good parts from within the protocol bill and deciding that if this is enacted, and these are the exact words from Jeffrey Donaldson, if the protocol bill has safe passage through the House of Lords and if it's enacted, then that forms the basis whereby that Stormont can get up and running again. Now that is a clear-cut case of what's known as normalcy bias. Now, do our politicians actually also deny objective truth? Now that's a question for the live chat, and I would like for the live chat to leave your messages in the live chat. Give us some examples of where that you see our political leaders denying the objective truth that is right in front of their very eyes. are they fit to be leaders if this is exactly what they do? That's a real question, and that is a question for the live chat. So we're going to go on to another clip here. And, you know, it took a fair bit of time to produce the various clips that we are going to show here, in order that we can take people on a journey, in order that we can conclusively show that leaders are displaying and denying the objective truth, that they display traits of normalcy bias, taking the good parts and disregarding the clear and present danger in where that they're leading us into. And that isn't the place for Northern Ireland Unionism to be. That isn't the place for the United Kingdom to be. That isn't the place for conservatism, quote unquote, in the entire United Kingdom to be. But why does this happen? Let's play a little clip from Doug Beattie talking about a landing zone, talking about where that it is that Doug Beattie had put together a plan in order to take unionism. Now, I can tell you that Doug Beattie, he was with Americans in Washington in the late part of 2019, and he claims to be the architect of this thing called a landing zone, this thing which is a protocol bill. And he claims to be the architect. The Ulster Unionist Party claimed to be the architects. But this, people, and I'm going to show, is a clear-cut case of normalcy bias. In other words, Doug Beattie sees the good parts in what it is that he's proposing, but he doesn't recognize the clear and present danger by enacting the very thing that the Ulster Unionist Party put together, strategized for, and sold to the Americans, to the European Union, to the Dublin government, and now it represents itself in this Northern Ireland Protocol Bill produced by the so-called, and I say so-called, Conservative Party in Westminster. Let's play Doug Beattie and then we'll move on.
The landing zone is for the Northern Ireland Protocol. It's been there since 2019 because we put it there in 2019 and we're now hovering above it. And all we have to do is land, and that takes courage. And it's the same sort of courage we had in 1998 that David Trimble showed. It's courage to say, we'll take this and we'll go with it to see how we can get this fixed in the long term.
So there you'll have heard Doug Beattie. There you'll have heard Doug Beattie talking about a landing zone. Now, he claims that his party, that the Ulster Unionist Party, are the architects of this thing called a landing zone. Now, what I want to do here is that I want to play Doug Beattie talking about this again. And what we want to do is that we want to pick apart and point out exactly where the normalcy bias actually lies in the thought processes of this dangerous, this very, very dangerous Ulster Unionist Party. And I make no apologies for saying that. This is a very dangerous party. If you're a unionist, if you love and cherish the United Kingdom, well, follow the Ulster Unionist Party, and what will happen is that you and your United Kingdom, your precious United Kingdom, well, let's just say it this way, a fool and their precious United Kingdom will soon be parted if they follow the ways of the Ulster Unionist Party. And let me explain exactly why.
The landing zone is for the Northern Ireland Protocol. It's been there since 2019 because we put it there in 2019.
So we know where the landing zone is. It's been there since 2019 because we put it there in 2019. Doug Beattie, the architect of the landing zone, the Ulster Unionist Party, the architects of the landing zone. Now, let's play on and let's come back and let's tell you why that it is that this landing zone is actually a clear and present danger for United Kingdom unionism.
19, and we're now hovering above it. And all we have to do is land, and that takes courage. And it's the same sort of courage we had in 1998 that David Trimble showed. It's courage to say, we'll take this and we'll go with it to see how we can get this fixed in the long term.
So Doug Beattie talks about having the same ability as David Trimble had in 1998. Let me say this. The Belfast Good Friday Agreement that David Trimble and others signed up to, whenever there were people from within our community who stood against it, the very agreement that they signed up to, well, what did they sign up to? They signed up to a border poll. They signed up to a vote on that border poll every single 7 years after the first border poll would be called, until ultimately Republicans get the answer that they wanted. Now I'm going to say something, but who ever agreed to that? What ace negotiator negotiated that for and on behalf of unionism? And here we have Doug Beattie seeking to make exactly the same mistake as David Trimble made. And David Trimble and his band of sellout merchants that sold the unionist community, well, David Trimble, his merry band, and others that sold the unionist community to this treacherous deal, which means only one thing, that ultimately Northern Ireland ends up in this so-called New Ireland. Now, that's not forgivable, and that isn't a process by which any self-respecting unionist could follow in 2022. But here we have Doug Beattie promoting the fact that, well, his party members actually sold unionism out with that. The Belfast Agreement, it was a disguise. It was built for appeasement, swindle, and lies. The peace is a farce. The IRA guns are still there, and London. And make no mistake, this is the reason why we're in the position that we're in this evening, is London is afraid of another bomb scare. And no matter what the IRA terrorists do, no matter what IRA Sinn Féin do, occupying the Stormont buildings off the Upper Newtownards Road, no matter what they do, no matter why they murder people. People linked to those that are in Stormont, no matter why they murder people. And this isn't my assessment. This is the Chief Constable's assessment. Bobby Storey was arrested for murders in the Markets and in Short Strand, linked to the conglomerate that is linked to the Jerry Adams, Michelle O'Neill, Mary Lou McDonald conglomerate, who occupies Stormont off the Upper Newtownards Road in Belfast. No matter what these people do, no matter why they make rules within Stormont and they break rules, no matter why they're afforded a state funeral, a British state funeral to bury Bobby Storey, and they still manage to break the rules. Doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter if they glorify terrorism with up the ra, adding insult to the injury of the victims that their bedfellows in Sinn Féin IRA have created. It doesn't matter if they add insult to the injury of those children that they murdered, the family members that are still living today. It doesn't matter what they do. You see, they still have to be part of the Belfast appeasement. It was built for swindle, appeasement, and lies. The peace is a farce. The IRA guns are still there. It doesn't matter. You see, that's what the Ulster Unionist Party signed you and I and everyone up to. And here we have Doug Beattie promoting a landing zone, which he said that the Ulster Unionist Party were the architects of. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but who are the Ulster Unionist Party? The Ulster Unionist Party have a handful of votes. They have no Westminster MPs. Doug Beattie was lucky getting elected just at the past Assembly elections. His bedfellow, Mike Nesbitt, past leader of the Ulster Unionist Party, was also very, very, very lucky to get elected. And yet these people, to create the illusion of unionist support. They are in Washington talking to Irish Americans. They are in the EU talking to the EU negotiators. They are in Dublin, providing the illusion that unionists are actually signing up to this, exactly the same as what happened whenever David Trimble and his merry band and some misguided people from within our community signed up to this Belfast appeasement process, whenever most unionists, the greater number of unionists, whenever they opposed it. They opposed it. Why? Because the IRA, on the run-up to the Belfast Agreement, well, they had planted a tactical bomb in Canary Wharf, causing £500 million worth of damage. And from that day to this, that was in February of 1996. From that day to this, that entire process, well, what was to be a peace process became an appeasement process. And I know that there's no one could challenge me in those words, because that's exactly what it has been. That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it remains to be. An appeasement process that is only there to appease Republicans, to deliver Republicans and nationalists to their end destination, which is joint with the Republic of Ireland. And then we look at the Republic of Ireland, and we've talked about this in the days and in the weeks gone by, in where that they are happy for their national women's football team to promote the IRA, to glorify the terrorism, to glorify the IRA, and in a way that would add insult to the injury of the many, many victims of that evil terrorist organization. People, I say that these people, the Irish Republic, the Republicans, the nationalists, they are one in the same. And I don't know about you, but I can never, ever be part of that. You know, ordinary, decent nationalists or Catholics, let's fill our country with those people. But anyone who supports that organization, well, I will have no truck with them, and no self-respecting unionist politician should ever, ever, ever have any truck with them. So here we have Doug Beattie promoting his landing zone, which he tells us that the Ulster Unionist Party have orchestrated, have been the architects of, who have sold to the Americans, to the Europeans, and to the Dublin government. So he says that we're hovering around this landing zone in true normalcy bias exclusion. And he says that we're hovering around this landing zone, so let's land. Now let's explain what it means to land on Doug Beattie's landing zone. It means that the border that is between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, it means that that border is no more for trade purposes. That border is physically lifted, is transplanted, is placed at Larne, in Belfast, and in Warrenpoint. Now, if we were to look at some of the words that were coming out of the government not too long ago, and some of the things that some of the people involved in this entire process were saying, well, it looks as if that they're about to even try to swindle the people again by getting the councils to implement the protocol checks, effectively being able to say that there is no border at Larne, at Belfast, and at Warrenpoint. But what that represents is a border in the United Kingdom at the request of the EU, with EU rules and regulations and laws governing those checks. They're customs checks. If there is a customs check, that represents a customs border. And if it looks like a border, if it checks like a border, it is a border. So what do I see wrong with what it is that Doug Beattie is trying to get unionists to land on in his? He just says, he stated quite clearly there that it was his landing zone, that it was his. They put it together. They strategized for it. They have sold it. They have implemented it. It's in the Alliance Party manifesto. Liz Truss translated that landing zone into the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill, the Snakes and Ladders Bill, which gives unionists absolutely nothing, which is an enabling bill, which creates the illusion that you're advancing, that you're getting some of the things back that the British government have, they have given to the EU. It creates the illusion that you're getting some of those things back, but when in effect you're absolutely getting nothing. And yet here we have an Ulster Unionist, a so-called Ulster Unionist, like his predecessors before, David Trimble, signing up to this Belfast Agreement with a border poll, and every 7 years thereafter. Who ever agreed to that? And here we have this Ulster Unionist Party doing exactly the same thing on Northern Ireland, champing at the bit to resurrect the Belfast appeasement process in where that Unionists ultimately lose. This protocol bill sees the light of day, and I don't think it will, and I surely hope that it won't, and I surely hope that Mug Beatty doesn't get his way with his landing zone, which he is so proud of. If this protocol bill sees the light of day, it is over. In its embryonic form, the breakup of the United Kingdom is and will be underway. So there's the Ulster Unionist Party for you. There is Mug Beatty, and there is what represents something that no self-respecting unionist could ever vote for. Unless, of course, that they're following this woke agenda. Unless, of course, that they deny objective truth. Unless, of course, that they deny that what they are watching here is a picture with EU flags behind me. That is the objective truth which is represented behind me. It's a picture with EU flags. But the Ulster Unionist Party seem to be saying, with a lot of this stuff, this nonsense that they're following, that the objective truth is something other than that which absolutely represents the truth. Anyone that votes for that Ulster Unionist Party, well, they will be casting a vote to end the United Kingdom, to place a permanent border between Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales, and to, by extension, ultimately break up the United Kingdom. That's what a vote for the Ulster Unionist Party is for. There's a suggestion that there's an election on its way. You know, the Conservative Party right now in Westminster, they're in turmoil. And they're literally in turmoil. And what I hope to do this evening is I hope to first and foremost show you why that the Conservative Party would find themselves in this turmoil. Now let's try to understand for a moment or two what is happening to these so-called Conservatives, this so-called Conservative and Unionist Party. What is happening to these people? Let's try to look at any conceivable scenario that we can look at whenever that we're trying to understand what exactly is happening to the Conservative Party. You know, back in 2017, I wrote a piece, and the piece was entitled "The Corporate Straw That Would Break the Conservative Party." And it was a play on words, the straw that would break the camel's back, the corporate straw that would break the Conservative Party. Now remember what I just said there, because I likened to what the Conservative Party are doing to themselves. I likened it on to corporatism. I likened it on to what happens in business within this terminology called corporatism, or this entity called corporatism. So what is a corporate, you ask? A corporate, well, it's somewhere like Tesco, for example, and there are other stores available. Now, it is the aim of Tesco, the store that sells the messages, the food, it is the aim of that store to not discriminate against anyone, to bring as much footfall through the door as humanly possible to sell as much goods as they possibly can. So you see, it is within Tesco's strategy, their aims, to look for whoever, regardless of their what their views are, their persuasion is, or whatever it is they believe. You know, Tesco welcomes all, and the more people that they can get through that door, the more profits that Tesco can create for their shareholders, and the more dividends that is paid. And that's how a corporate actually works. You see, but I argued in the piece that I wrote that corporatism it cannot be used in politics. It cannot be used from within a party, especially if that party nominates itself as one thing or the other, especially if that party specifies that it is there to represent the views of a particular set of people. Conservatism, family matters, the continuation of the family, conservative principles such as objective truth here, objective truth that I am a man. I look like a man, so therefore I am a man. You see, that's what conservatism is all about, is, standing up for the society in which you live, having a stable society, live and let live. A conservative is generally a live and let live type person, and they don't go off the rails in terms of their views. Christianity, Judeo-Christian values, that also fits within conservatism. But you see, the world, globalization has managed to persuade the world and its dog that conservatism is backward. Conservatism needs to be undermined. Conservatism needs to morph itself into something that it's not. Effectively, conservatism needs to join the other team to score goals against itself. Now, as a result of what I had been watching in the Brexit process from 2016 going forward, whenever the Conservatives couldn't stand together, whenever that they couldn't vote together, whenever that they were a party pulling in many, many, many different ways. And why did that happen? That happened is because that they had become a broad church. That happened because they have so many different views within their party, so many different political persuasions within their party, so many different ideas, ideologies within their party, that when it comes to a vote for something as serious as the national interest, the constitutional makeup of the United Kingdom, when it comes to a vote for that, conservatism, as in the Conservative Party in England, well, because that they have applied corporatism, trying to attract as many people as humanly possible through their door, well, now it's a party of division. Now it's a party of indecisiveness. Now it's a party which cannot agree. And there's so many factions within that Conservative Party. Frankly, I say the Conservative Party is finished. So remember the title that I would have written back in 2017, The Corporate Straw That Would Break the Conservative Party. I believe, people, that we're on the cusp of exactly what I had written about back in 2017. Now, what was the gist of that story? The gist of that story is this, that in order to appeal to as many people as humanly possible, something has to give. The real question is, what has to give? So the Conservative Party, appealing to all arts and parts, all ideologies, all frames of mind, liberal, conservative, people that wanted to remain in the EU, people that didn't, people that wanted to save the country, people that didn't, people that wanted to maintain the United Kingdom, people that didn't, diametrically opposed opinions and views within that party. They had made themselves so much of a broad church, and in order to appeal to as many people as humanly possible, well, this is what happened, that something had to give, and the very thing that gave was conservatism itself. To appeal to as many people as humanly possible, well, people would say, some would say, and in fact, this is exactly the case, that the Conservative Party have become all things to everyone and absolutely nothing to none. And we see that playing out, that every single time that there's something in the national interest to go through the Parliament with reference, be that Brexit, be that taking our laws back, be that keeping the United Kingdom together, when we see those crucial votes, Conservatism can't stand together. Now let's take ourselves back here to Northern Ireland, and let's also look at the DUP under the leadership of Jeffrey Donaldson. Now, Jeffrey Donaldson, under his leadership, the DUP are morphing into something of the same of Conservatism in Westminster in England. You know, we've seen how that it was that Edwin Poots had taken over control of the party. We've seen that Edwin Poots wasn't the media's darling, and the media didn't want him there. Globalists didn't want him there, and within a very short period of time, Jeffrey Donaldson was put in as leader of the DUP, even though that the membership had voted for Edwin Poots. Now look at the circumstances from within the Conservative Party, and now look at the circumstances in where that here we had Liz Truss, who was the Conservative Party's choice out of the small choice that they had, whether that be Rishi or Liz. They were always being promoted as the way forward. So they chose Liz Truss, and Liz Truss, what she did was that she implemented a strategy, an economical strategy to try to enhance the United Kingdom. Now, what happened is the media didn't like it. The media doesn't like Liz Truss. The media's darling is Rishi Sunak. And the Conservative Party are talking along the same lines as what happened with the DUP. The Conservative Party are now talking along the lines of is that no matter why the Conservative members in that party voted for Liz, didn't vote for Rishi, well, they're talking about putting Rishi in charge. So we'll watch this space and we'll see actually what happens from within the Conservative Party. But that's exactly what happened from within the DUP. And, you know, when we look at that Conservative Party, are we ever going to be able to land Brexit in a true landing zone type way, in where that Brexit is delivered? Or are the globalists taking over? Have the globalists, perfected a corporate takeover bid of the Conservative Party by proxy, in where that what they're doing is that they're installing their people right now into that Conservative Party? And will that play out well for the people of Northern Ireland? Will that play out well for Northern Ireland Unionists? Well, of course it won't. Of course it won't. So what we need to do, people, is that we need to insist that our leaders fully understand the gravity of the situation that we face. The TUV needs to be here, needs to stand tall. If there's an election that comes, the TUV needs to be ready, willing and able to go for that election. Now, whether that is under an election pact or not, personally, I don't care. But the TUV needs to be there, needs to be ready, needs to be willing, and needs to be able to stand for and on behalf of the people of Northern Ireland. Right now, in English politics, there is a party called the Reform Party, which were the Brexit Party, which should have taken the Conservatives down when they had the chance, the so-called Conservatives, that is, and they didn't. They actually backed off. I understand why they backed off at the time, but however, they are there. They are building right now before our very eyes, and I hope and I pray that the Reform Party takes over the mantle of conservatism in the United Kingdom from a general election, which could be coming in the very, very near future. And I hope that Reform actually takes over the mantle and establishes conservatism, real, true, and proper conservatism, to represent the greater number of people throughout the United Kingdom. So here's what I want to do, and I'll come to the live chat whenever I finish talking about what I'm talking about. So remember, deny objective truth. What's right in front of your very eyes, deny that, deny it at your cost. And if our leaders deny the objective truth, John Yates is a man, that's an objective truth. Those flags behind me flying in front of that building are European flags. That is an objective truth. That is undisputable, indisputable. John Yates is a man. He's not a woman. If our leaders deny the objective truth right before their very eyes and try to force it down other people's throats, by extension, does that truth then become, or does truth in itself become irrelevant? That's a question. That's a question for people who are following this stream this evening. I want to play another video. I've got to ask you to excuse me because of the lagging on the stream. We're having real problems. I think that we're being attacked by outside forces trying to take our streams down, and we're having to do our live streams in a way that we are changing the methods by which that we do them regularly. And as a result, it is making our streams not so presentable. But anyway, you do get the gist. We do get over them. And hopefully in the very, very near future, we're looking into something else that might actually help us and might stop this from happening in the way that it has been happening for the last, say, couple of months. So what I want to do is that I want to play a video clip. And I want people to understand who the European Union are, who the European Union are linked to. Do the European Union deny objective truth? And, have the European Union made truth irrelevant? Let's play this video. And I want you to focus in on this man. Now, this man isn't the type of person that I would normally be playing on my screen. But this man is a liberal. This man is a liberal which talks a lot of sense. This man is a liberal which had a run-in with the European Union at negotiating level, just like the people that are trying to negotiate a satisfactory Brexit today in the United Kingdom. This man is known as Yanis, Varoufakis, I'm going to say. I know that's slightly different than that. That's probably not a good pronunciation for him. But this man was in charge of financial matters in Greece whenever the ECB, the European Central Bank, and the International Monetary Fund imposed conditions on Greece for a bailout. I want you to listen very carefully to this man, and I'll come and I'll stop and I'll start and we'll talk about the relevant points as we go on. But if we want an insight, a clear insight to who we're dealing with when we're dealing with the European Union and the people beyond them, if we want a clear insight into the people that are derailing our democracy, that is derailing, that are prepared to derail financial systems here within the United Kingdom, and all because that we had the audacity to leave the European Union. If we want an insight into these people, this is the man to listen to. And it's in short clips. It doesn't go on for very long. And if you want an insight into this corrupt European Union, well, listen to a man that had many dealings with them over the years. Here we go.
Canary in the mine. He died in order to warn the rest, the miners down the mine, that there was a systemic problem, a methane leak, let's say. And the way in which the powers that be, the liberal establishment, which is now protesting Donald Trump and Brexit and Le Pen and so on, massively mishandled the Greek crisis, is indicative of the way in which the liberal establishment has lost the plot internationally after 2008. You need to read Shakespeare. Yeah? Macbeth. Macbeth commits a crime, and then he just needs to commit a second crime to cover up the first crime, and then a third one to cover up the second one. So the more you commit crimes against logic in this case, the more you get entrenched into a big lie. It's very simple, isn't it? 2008, great financial.
The more you create a crime against logic, said Yanis, well, the more crimes that you have to commit to get out of the logic which you have just destroyed. Deny objective truth, then truth to these so-called leaders becomes irrelevant. Let's play on.
Crisis. All the banks went bankrupt throughout the Western world, every single one of them. In the United States, the elites and the institutions are very pragmatic. They got around the table and immediately pumped up the quantity of public money, of dollars, and effectively reflated the collapsed banks. In Europe, we had created a central bank on condition that it's not allowed to do that. So if your central bank cannot reflate the inane and deflated banking sector, and the banking sector is insolvent, the only alternative is to shift, quite cynically, the losses from the books of the banks onto the taxpayers. So the Greek bailout was nothing more than a bailout for Deutsche Bank, Finanzbank, BNP Paribas, Société Générale, the French and German banks. Between them, they had lent 200 billion to the Greek state. They were already insolvent because they had stuffed their boots with toxic derivatives from the other side of the Atlantic. And they had already been bailed out by the French and particularly the German government, and Mrs. Merkel could not go back to the Bundestag and demand another wad of money for the same banks that she had just saved. So it was packaged as an act of solidarity towards the lazy Greeks, which of course has to be to come attached with austerity strings, tough love. In reality, this was money that went from the German, Slovak, Portuguese, Irish taxpayer to the Greek state to go straight back to the French and German banks, on conditions that guaranteed to shrink the incomes of the Greeks that were not enough to pay for the old debts, let alone for the new ones. A 10-year-old can tell you that this cannot end well.
So what we're listening to here, people, is that we're listening to Yanis, who was in charge of financial matters for Greece, who was dealing with the European Union, who effectively suggested that what they did was that the banks were completely bankrupt in 2008. I was involved in property. I was involved in the property crash. I lost a lot back then. I fully understand what happened in 2008. And the banks were effectively bankrupt, said this man. And he said that what the system done, what the Americans done, the Americans, believe it or not, they created it. They sold and packaged bad loans to all these banks, which created the circumstances in where these banks become bankrupt because they were never going to get the money back in the loans that were loaned out and in the loan books that they had purchased from America. It was called contagion at the time. And what actually happened was that the system, the European Union, the Americans, they got round the table and they decided to shift the debt to ordinary people, and they did so quite effectively. Who remembers the bailout of the banks of your taxpayers' money, whilst everyone else ended up, well, there was a lot of people who lost their houses. There were property developers that lost a lot. There were people committing suicide as a result of the injustice that was served upon them by the European Union, by the Americans who created this in the first place. So let's move on and let's listen to Yanis and let's try to understand who these parasites are and why that these parasites that are currently in charge, that are currently trying to crush our government, crush the United Kingdom, that are currently trying to crush the pound, unless that they're in control of the people that are in charge of Westminster. Let's try to understand who these parasites are and why they should never, ever, ever be in control of anything, let alone a European Union or a globalist one world government that seeks to enslave, that seeks to impoverish every single ordinary person on the planet. And I make absolutely no apologies for telling you how that it is that I see things. Let's play on.
reason why the euro survives today is quantitative easing. The fact that Draghi, since March 2015, has been printing anything between 60 and 80 billion a month, purchasing bonds and other kinds of debt. Just with good arguments and the power of persuasion, you're not going to get anywhere. There's a whole wall of denial in the Eurogroup and in the Troika. But if you have the nuclear weapon as well, the doomsday machine, if you want to call it that, then they will come to the table. And I have no doubt that they would have come to the table. Unfortunately, this is where disunity brings defeat. Our government was disunited, and members of the team signaled to Draghi, don't worry about Varoufakis, we're not going to let him haircut those bonds.
So what Varoufakis had said there, Yanis, he said that, that the Greeks had a so-called nuclear weapon that they could have used against these people, not specifically a bomb, but certainly something that they could use to get the European Union and the globalists to back off Greece. And that was the fact that they had so much debt, so many billions in debt, and they could have used that, which in turn could have actually ended up collapsing the entire system. But what he said, and compare these circumstances to what is happening in the United Kingdom today. Compare these circumstances to what is happening in Westminster today, and what you will see is that he said that there was disunity amongst the politicians in Greece to stand together in the interest of the people of Greece, in the interest of the parliament in Greece, in the interest of the national interest of Greece. Well, there were those in the government that were aligned with the EU. It was split. There were capos within the Greek government that would have sided with the EU, that would have sided with the globalists, which made a solution to the problem impossible. And we see that happening in the United Kingdom today in exactly the same way as this man described that it happened in Greece way back from 2008, actually going forward. Now, we could get into this Greece crisis in a bigger way. And we can say that there is a precedent in where that these globalists, that the ECB, the European Central Bank, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. And why do I know so much about this? Well, as I say, I had a vested interest where I had heavily invested in property, and as a result of the crisis, the crash caused in America, which rippled out across the Western world, well, I lost an absolute fortune. And I watched this with great interest, and I watched it as it unfolded. And there is a precedent for the ECB, the European Central Bank, and the International Monetary Fund to dictate that people are all in this together. And for those people, those parasites, to rob ordinary people of their money from out of their banks, because that's what happened in Cyprus in 2013. Do a Google, you'll find it on the internet. These parasites stole ordinary people's money because of a crisis of their making. They don't care about people. Just today, I learned of a lady with some young children that can't afford to heat her house, that is in real crisis because of the cost of living, because of the cost of the oil, because of the cost of the energy, because of everything that is happening, that is derived from these exact same parasites who are trying to manipulate their way out of things that they have actually caused. And again, I make no apologies for saying that. And that probably explains why this stream is going blurry right now. But however, we'll persist. We continue to get our message out. And well, as you know, for those of you that is sing, we do get around the country. We do talk to people on a one-to-one basis. And well, they can shut this stream down, but they can't. They can't stop us from winning hearts and minds against this and any leader that would align themselves with this system that wants to destroy ordinary, decent people in the process in order that they can get rich, in order that the parasites and their lackeys can get rich in the process. Let's play on with Yanis and let's move on. Please give us a like, please give us a love, please give us a share, tag people in the live chat. The numbers are high from right across the platforms. Please accept my apologies because of the lag in the screen. But I hope that you get the picture, and I hope that you get this in the way that it's intended to be presented. So playing on with Yanis and listening very carefully to who exactly the European Union are, and do they have the best interest of people from within nation states at heart? Absolutely not. Let's play on.
You're bankrupt, you cannot repay your debt, full stop. So you need a debt restructure. The only question of interest is the debt restructure going to come first, and therefore giving an opportunity to the Greek economy to recover with a reduction in tax rates, reduction in the budget surplus targets, and so on and so forth, which is necessary to attract investment? Or is the patient going to die, Greece going to be Kosovized, as I say, turned into a desert, with all its young people having left, becoming an old folks' home, and then...
So let's just stop that for a moment, and let's see what it was that Yanis, who's an economist, who was in charge of the Greek economy back a few years ago, who actually took over. He didn't preside over the collapse of the economy, but he took over in order to put things right. And he was dealing with the European Union whenever they were performing a bailout for the Greek economy. And what was it he said that you need to grow an economy? Now listen very carefully to what Yanis has to say.
Our government was disunited, and members of the team signaled to Draghi, don't worry about Varoufakis, we're not going to let him haircut those bonds. If you're bankrupt, you cannot repay your debt, full stop. So you need a debt restructure. The only question of interest is the debt restructure going to come first, and therefore giving an opportunity to the Greek economy to recover with a reduction in tax rates, reduction in the budget surplus targets, and so on and so forth, which is...
So there's Yanis promoting exactly what Liz Truss was promoting: a reduction in tax rates for ordinary people, a reduction in tax, corporation tax for businesses, allowing business to flourish and in a way that they can create employment in order that you can grow your economy. And you know, it was the same IMF that came out against what it was that Liz Truss had said. It was the Bank of England that was saying, now the Bank of England is nothing to do with Westminster, it's independent, it's run by bankers. It was the bankers who poured scorn on Liz Truss's ambition to grow the economy of the entire United Kingdom, to make the United Kingdom prosperous, to go for growth when every other country are running their economies down. But oh no, these people, these globalist friends, the bankers that control these people, they poured scorn. And I would actually say, now here's me going to make a claim here, and this is a bit of logic for you, is that there is no other way to grow your economy other than to give tax cuts, tax breaks, to create investment, to attract investment into your country, which creates jobs, which creates prosperity, which puts money in people's pockets so that they can spend within the economy. And then what we get, and here's a quote for you, you may have heard that trickle-down economics don't work. Trickle-down economics actually does work, and anyone that would say that it doesn't, well, effectively they need their head looked. Now, am I saying that what is happening right now in terms of the people in charge of these corporations, I mean, are they being fair? Are people being treated right? Well, absolutely not. In this system of globalization, which protects the wealthy and doesn't protect the needy within society, well, it is completely lost the run of itself. and it has lost the run of itself is because that it's being dictated to by these very same globalists who are about, and you make no mistake about it, that are about to impoverish absolutely everyone on the planet if they have their way. So here was Yanis. Isn't it interesting? The man that tried to steer Greece out of their financial problems, who's an economist who run the economy in Greece, who was actually saying that the only way to grow that economy was with exactly the same strategy as suggested by Liz Truss. Now, what worries me right now is that the globalists have effectively taken control of the Conservative Party. The globalists, the EU, have their men in charge of the Conservative Party right now. What then for Brexit? What then for Northern Ireland's place within the United Kingdom? What then for the rest of the United Kingdom whenever that we have puppets in charge of the, let's just say it this way, we have the arsonists in charge of the fire brigade trying to put the fire out? What then for us? Let me push on. Let me get on. Let me just play the rest of what Yanis had to say. And then what we'll do is that we'll move on and we'll play. But we're actually going to show you beyond the European Union. And we're going to show you a whistleblower from America, in America, who in the last week has actually whistleblew on the entire Democrat Party, the Biden administration, and who left the party because, why? Well, because of what it was that she seen that she couldn't put her name to and she couldn't be any part of. Let's play on with Yanis and then we'll come to some more.
Necessary to attract investment? Or is the patient going to die, Greece going to be Kosovized, as I say, turned into a desert, with all its young people having left, becoming an old folks' home, and then of course at the end they will cut the debt because, you know, once the place is derelict, they will cut the debt. The leadership of the IMF, which is usually European, don't really care about the IMF. They're interested in their own political careers in the future in Europe. And therefore they're utilizing the IMF against the interests of the international community that should be using the IMF for good reasons, for good causes. Whenever I have a choice between explaining something on the basis of stupidity or self-interest, I opt for the self-interest explanation.
So listening to Yanis there, he says that whenever that he has the ability to explain something in terms of stupidity, and we've seen many, many, many stupid decisions made by our politicians. Doug Beattie wanting his landing zone. Doug Beattie wanting to break up the United Kingdom. Is that stupidity? Or in Yanis's words, is that self-interest? Is that Doug Beattie's going to be all right in this so-called New Ireland? That Doug Beattie will be El Presidente in the Oireachtas? Is this self-interest that these so-called unionists are pushing for? I'll say that again. Yanis had said whenever that he looks at things in terms of the things that your politicians do, is it stupidity or is it in the interest of self-interest? And also, did you hear him saying that the EU had controlled the International Monetary Fund and in a way that it is absolute self-interest? Who was it that suggested that what it was that Liz Truss was doing was wrong? It was the IMF, which caused people to not invest in the pound, which caused the collapse in the pound, which collapsed the government. People, these are the days that we are living in as a result of these evil, these self-serving, these profiteering globalists, because that's what they are. They aren't socialists. They masquerade as socialists. You know, what is socialism? You know, modern day neo-socialism is a world of its own. You know, Marxism, a completely different thing. Communism, a completely different thing. But let's take, for example, people that, let's say, would have voted for the Labour Party way back, maybe in the early days, the early 70s and whatnot, that would have wanted jobs for ordinary people, but they were being conned in many ways, many more ways than one. They were being swindled into giving their allegiance to something that they thought was furthering their aims. But when examined, when you lifted the rocks, when you examined what was underneath, you began to realize that these people, well, they were wannabe communists. That's what they were. But we can't blame the people for wanting to do things that are socially good for people, that are in the interest of communities, in the interest of the social cohesiveness of society. You can't blame people for wanting to follow those things, but more often than not, these so-called organizations, these NGOs, non-governmental organizations that have socialism in mind, well, they're being compromised. They are compromising themselves by what? Why are they doing that? How are they doing that? Well, what they are doing is that they are turning a blind eye to the clear objective truth. What is objective truth? John is a man. There's nobody can deny that John is a man. But yet some would say that if John wants to call himself a woman, that John must be a woman because he calls himself a woman. Well, that's not how biology works. That's not how objective truth works. And there are too many people from within our society that has absolutely denied what objective truth is. Those flags are European flags. Those flags are not Union Jacks. But there are people within society that if some would say that they're Union Jacks, well, if they say they're Union Jacks, then they must be Union Jacks. That is the denial of the objective truth, and that is the simple reason as to why our world is in the position that it's in. Too many people that is willing to look at the emperor. Who knows the story of the emperor's new clothes? The emperor isn't wearing any clothes, and everyone is proclaiming, everyone is expected to proclaim that how wonderful those no clothes are. I mean, this is a fable. This was a tale. This was a Hans Christian Andersen's tale, which really typifies what it is that our society has become today. There are too many people pretending that, well, let's say, for example, let's go another route here. The drags in society. Now, I have used that terminology specifically because they are drag artists in society. What right or what business do those drags have in nursery schools, in primary schools, strutting their smut and their sexual innuendo in front of kindergarten kids, nursery school kids? What business have they got? But yet, denying the objective truth of the sexualization of children is what a lot of people are prepared to do. Not too long ago, I think it was the Queen's Jubilee on the heart of the empire here in Northern Ireland, a place called the Shankill Road. There was a drag artist celebrating the Queen's Jubilee. What business does that drag artist have? Especially when drag artists across the Western world right now are actually, what are they doing? They are in schools reading story time to children. They are sexualizing the whole prospect of what it is that they're doing. They are, they are with all their sexual innuendo towards children. That is child abuse. Why would we support that? Why would we deny the objective truth that is wrong, that type of thing belongs for adults, that let children be children? Let's not mix up children at such an age. Why are we denying that truth? Why are we supporting that? Why are we accepting money to promote that, to bring that, to make that part of the celebrations that we are having? Why are we doing that? What type of idiot, what type of maniac, what type of clown would do such a thing? What type of idiot would say that those flags behind me are Union Jacks? Because that is exactly what those people are doing. Anything for a few pounds, anything for a few pounds, even if it means the destruction of the very society that you claim to represent. Denying the objective truth actually results in the title of this screen. Then the truth becomes irrelevant. And when the truth becomes irrelevant, what then for the society that you claim to represent? What then? Moving on. People, give us a like, give us a love, give us a share, leave your messages in the live chat, tag people into the live chat, ensure that people comes to see this screen. Look, we want as many people to leave your messages. If you're new to this screen, if you come at a later stage to watch this screen, please give us a like, give us a love, give us a share. That way we get to invite you to our channel. We have many thousand people that watch us regularly, many thousand. We have grew exponentially. Our numbers are being curtailed by the social media platform because of the message that we deliver, because that what we try to do is that we try to provide reason in a world of absolute bunkers. That's what we do. And we do that because that we care. We do that because that we care, even for the people that we're literally pointing out that you people are doing wrong. You people within our society are doing wrong. You that call yourselves unionists, that are selling yourselves out for a few pounds. You people, well, if you can hold it on your consciences, well, that's up to you. That is up to you. But here's the thing. Don't expect me or anyone else to go down the route that you're going down, because you're wrong. And respectfully, I say that. I'm going to pop this up on our screen before that we move on. When the whole world is running towards the cliff, he who is running the opposite direction appears to have lost his mind. C.S. Lewis. What a real, true, and relevant saying. Because that's what it is. It's a real, it's a true, and it's a relevant saying. It is the objective truth. Right now, in 2022, that statement by Lorna Smith, and thank you, Lorna, is objective truth. Go into a dictionary definition of what objective truth is. Objective truth is the undeniable truth, the undeniable fact that you see in front of your face. It doesn't matter why you're turning a blind eye for the sake of a few pounds or not. Truth is truth is truth. And to deny that truth, well, all you're doing is letting your own self down. That's the truth. You're not letting anyone else down. So moving on and playing on. And I hope that you're enjoying what it is that we had to deliver. There was a lot of research put into this. And of course, that's why that we often can't go to the places that we're being requested to go to, because we put a lot of time and effort into trying to save the society that other people are not trying to save. Other people have joined the other team to score goals against themselves. We'll still be the voice of reason, well, until that we've no breath left. That's the way it's going to be. And if we're put off social media for telling the truth, well, they can't stop us from winning the hearts and minds in other ways. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to move on with a few more things that we actually want to play before that we close our screen. So I'm going to suggest that we might last for another 15 minutes or so. We'll go to the live chat, we'll talk to the people, and we'll ask people what they thought. So give us a like, give us a love, give us a share, invite people along to the channel. And here we are when we're moving on. Now I want to play something from a lady from America who is a whistleblower from right inside Joe Biden's Democratic Party. So who's Joe Biden? Who are the Democratic Party? Well, the Democratic Party, people like Bill and Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. You know, that's the Democrat Party. And then we now have Joe Biden in America. And again, Joe Biden's the laughingstock of the world. Sleepy Joe, who's really in charge? Who really runs the Democrat Party? This was an up and coming and a rising star from within the Democrat Party. This was a person that the Democrat Party was actually promoting as well someone who would someday perhaps be running the Democrat Party. But this is a lady with a conscience. This is a lady that loved America. This is a lady, just like some of us here in the United Kingdom, that cherished her place in the United States of America, that loved her flag, that loved her country, that wanted to preserve and save her country, that wanted to preserve and save her nationality. This is a lady who has more, excuse this, has more nuts than most men living in society today. This is a lady called Tulsi Gabbard. And I want you to listen to Tulsi, because it was from what I watched Tulsi delivering with reference her whistleblowing that arrived me at the point where I wanted to talk about to deny objective truth. If you want to deny that, if you want to deny that John Yates is a man, if you want to suggest that I could call myself Johnine tomorrow and become a woman in an unbiological way, if that's what you want to suggest, well, what you're doing is that you are denying objective truth. Listen to Tulsi Gabbard as she explains the consequences of denying objective truth.
In our society, when we have people in the highest positions of power who deny the existence of objective truth, what happens is then there is no such thing as truth. There is no such thing as reality. Truth becomes whatever the people in power at any given moment want it to be.
So if objective truth is denied at a leadership level, a leadership quote unquote level, if objective truth is denied, if you turn a blind eye to the truth that presents itself in front of your face, if you are one of those people within society right now who looks at the emperor is wearing no clothes, as in the story from Hans Christian Andersen, if you're one of those people that looks at that and proclaims how wonderful those no clothes are, like Yanis Varoufakis had said, well, what did he say? He said, well, when you're trying to reason, are they stupid or are they promoting themselves in a self-interest way? Well, he said the best way to understand those people is to look at them and see what it is that they're getting out of it themselves. So do you deny objective truth? Are you a leader? Are you a community leader? Are you a political leader? Are you leading a country? Are you a person that is promoting the denial of objective truth sitting right in front of your very eyes? Are you doing so in a way that you are responsible, that you will be responsible for truth, even for your own family members, for truth to become irrelevant at some point in the future? Are you putting to death what is known worldwide as absolute truth? Are you putting that to death? A society that doesn't have truth doesn't have anything. Let's play some more from Tulsi Gabbard. Let's understand what it was that Tulsi Gabbard was actually whistleblowing on.
It's been an independent-minded person, a Democrat, yes, but an independent Democrat. And my loyalties are very clear. I love our country. And I took an oath, both as a service member, as a soldier, as well as a member of Congress, to support and defend the Constitution. And that's an oath that I take extremely seriously. And so when you look at this party, the today's Democratic Party, it's controlled by fanatical ideologues who hate freedom. They despise the Constitution. They actively find ways to undermine our God-given rights enshrined in the Constitution, like freedom of speech. If you say something and I say something that they don't like, instead of saying, you know what, agree to disagree, live and let live in the traditional liberalist kind of way. No, that's not good enough. They will do all that they can to destroy you, silence you, smear you, work with big tech, work with corporate media to actively destroy anyone who dares to even question their agenda.
So here we have a rising star from deep within Joe Biden's Democrat Party. And make no mistake, things that you're seeing in the Western world today is being derived from America. It's what's known as American-driven liberal hegemony or hegemony. And effectively what that means is that America are attempting to make the world in their image. And they have done so in such a way that there are people that has bought into this waffle, that is bought into the denial of objective truth, that is bought into making truth irrelevant, that is bought into the lie, that is literally saying things that they don't see in front of our very eyes, but in order to promote themselves, in order to advance themselves within society, well, what they are doing is that they are going along with the waffle, and they are damaging the fabric of society in the process. But what it is that Tulsi Gabbard had just said there is that if you stand against this, if you talk out against this, they will try to destroy you. They will try to use big tech, the type of big tech that we're on right now, that it's not really coming across in the way that it should, that there are being, our processes being disrupted of delivery. But they will team together with big tech, and what they will do is that they will exclude you from society. And this is a lady that had the nerve to come out from within that Democrat Party within the last week, and she's all over the news in America. And this is what I call a hero, an absolute hero who is whistleblowing on what it is that the Democrat, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama party are actually doing. Well, I'm not going to blame Joe Biden. Joe Biden is literally, he's really not capable of being the president of the United States, is he? Let's play on with Tulsi.
They are against freedom of religion. They are hostile towards people of faith, people who have their own spiritual practice, especially Christians, finding ways to be vindictive, to discriminate, to punish people who happen to exercise that freedom of religion. The list goes on, but the foundation of freedom is really what was at the heart of my making this decision, that I cannot be a member of a party that is against freedom and actively trying to undermine it. It speaks to the whole environment of fear that those in power, these elitists in power, have fomented, to where people are afraid to speak the truth. They're afraid to exercise their right to free speech because, hey, you might lose your job, you might be canceled, you might be trashed, and God forbid in Washington, you might not be invited to the cool kids parties. You might not be as popular. And this is really what it comes down to, is rather than taking a stand for peace, for prosperity, security, and freedom of the American people, we have too many people in Washington who are warmongers, subservient to the military-industrial complex, and continuing to put their own selfish interests or the interests of their donors first, with no mind for the cost and consequence that their decisions have on the American people. This is exactly what we're seeing right now with President Biden and leaders in Congress whose decisions are actively pushing us to the brink of a nuclear holocaust, of which they may have their bunkers where they'll be safe, but we, the American people, will have no shelter, no place to go, no place to hide, and face the consequences that could destroy all of humanity and the world as we know it.
So there's a lady from deep within Joe Biden's party who came out just last week, who was a rising star from within the Democrat Party in America, who suggests that what she's seen in the engine room of that party is that these maniacs are pushing us to the brink of nuclear war. They are on a false mission in Ukraine right now, and they are pushing the Western world to war. They tell you, they tell everyone that this is a cost of living crisis. They tell us that, that there is, they tell they're trying to tell us on the media that it was Liz Truss's economical strategy that is causing the hardships to people, that is causing the cost of living to go up, that is causing mortgages to go up, that is causing inflation to go up. They tell us that to try to grow your economy as opposed to trying to collapse it. And we all know that there is a great reset underway at the hands of these people, but they tell us that to try to grow your economy, to try to put people in work, to try to give people money in their pockets, to try to bring inward investment, to try to do the normal things that makes a country function economically, to try to do those things. They tell us that it is wrong. They tell us that we have to follow their ways. But whenever the United Kingdom, and here's the way to understand this. If the United Kingdom were to borrow a huge amount of money in the billions tomorrow to hand to the Ukraine war, if they were to do that, well, there wouldn't be a problem. That would be okay. There wouldn't be anything to see here. The financial markets wouldn't turn against that, because that what they are doing is that they are furthering the desires of the American administration to drive American-driven liberal hegemony, making the world in America's image, that the world a very dangerous place in the process. I've seen how they have affected our society in Northern Ireland. I've seen that they have created a special kind of stupid within our society. Of course, there are those who are stupid, but there are those who are taking full advantage of it for their own personal gain. Anyway, people, there was a whistleblower. There was an insight that we're not going to get again. They don't come by every single day in life. There is the reality being told to you from directly within the party of Clinton, Obama, and Biden as to what it is that they're doing to society, what it is that they're doing to America, and why that it is that that person, Tulsi Gabbard, could be absolutely no part of that ever again. People, we're going to play 2 more clips and then we're finished. Yeah, absolutely, Heather. That lady totally spoke well. Totally spoke well. And there's one from Eddie, which says that, John, sometimes you can't fix stupid. Well, there's 2 classes here, Eddie. There are the sheeple who are following this stupid, and there are those who are NGOs, non-governmental organizations, put in place to corral those stupid. And in a way, well, would you believe it that some of these people claim to be representing Northern Ireland, to be representing the United Kingdom, to be trying to save the United Kingdom, but yet, well, it's everything for themselves. It is everything for themselves. As long as they are okay, it doesn't matter about the rest of the people. The good thing is that there is people that are turning against this right around the Western world, and people that are not prepared to take this anymore. So again, I'm looking here. Yeah, absolutely. John, Biden was and still is donating tens of thousands of money to the IRA and have been doing it for decades. He should be impeached. Well, the American establishment would turn a blind eye. That would promote, and we do have Richard Neal, who remembers Richard Neal and Nancy Pelosi from inside that Democrat Party here in Northern Ireland, and suggesting that the UK wouldn't get a trade deal should they not separate Northern Ireland from the rest of the United Kingdom. That is outside interference. They've been here for years with their CIA, putting in place this American-driven liberal hegemony. They've done a good job. And we are now, well, let's just say it this way. The greater number of people in Northern Ireland don't actually believe in this piffle, this crap, this nonsense that some people are promoting. The greater number of people in the United Kingdom and in Northern Ireland and in the Western world, well, they do not deny objective truth. They do not want to make truth irrelevant. The truth is the truth is the truth. John is a man. Those flags are not Union Jacks. That is what objective truth is. But we have some of these leaders right now and some of these people who are being paid money to say that John might be Johnine and that those flags could be Union Jacks. That's how bunkers these people are. And yet they're running society. They're trying to provide leadership to you and to I and to everyone else. Well, let's continue to expose the nonsense, the piffle that they're involved in. Let's continue to do that. Yeah, thanks very much for that, Big Vern. Thank you for that. I'm just looking at some of the live chat here as we go. Terrorism Act 2 includes this. It makes an offence to encourage or right? Okay, absolutely. We'll use this one. The Terrorism Act 2006 includes legislation which makes it an offence to encourage or glorify terrorism or disseminate terrorist publications through internet activity. And you're referring to up there. You're referring to a party who has ministers in the Northern Ireland government when they're there, who has ministerial code which suggests that they should not be involved in any act which would promote that terrorism. So there's another aspect. But where are our leaders when they're standing? They're not standing against this. They're turning a blind eye. They're not fighting meaningfully and proactively and in a way that would defend, protect, and enhance common sense, that would defend, protect, and enhance objective truth, that would defend, protect, and enhance the fabric of society, the place which has given you and I and everyone else a safe place to live, a place which doesn't seek to indoctrinate and to contaminate and to infest the young minds with piffle, with nonsense, with untruth, with irrelevant so-called truth, with the denial of truth, with the absolutely turning logic and truth on its head. People, with one more clip here to play. One more clip. Thanks very much, Lexi. Thank you for all your support. Look, people, we're coming to the end of the screen. Now, it took a long time to prepare that, many nights of research, of watching long videos, to cut videos, to put all of this together. Yeah, we've got work to do. You do know that Restore UK will be in the Supreme Court on the 30th of November and on the 1st of December, fighting our case with reference to this protocol bill. You do know that Restore UK. Well, look, listen, if you're a nationalist, if you're a Catholic, we mean you no harm. And I know that a lot of yous mean us absolutely no harm. And, you know, I'm going to say something that when all right-minded individuals stand together to stand against this corruption of society, this denying of objective truth, which will make ultimately truth irrelevant, when ordinary people, no matter where you're from, no matter why you're black, white, Chinese, whoever you are, if you want to stand against this, you are welcome here at Restore UK. Together, we all are strong. You know, I'm going to say this before that we play this last video clip and before that we really come to a close, is that your belief, your culture, your way of life, your belief, your culture, your way of life, your lifestyle choices, they should be between you and your fellow enthusiasts. They should be never permitted to interfere in anyone else's way of life. There should be laws in place that actually cap or fasten that very fact, that your belief, your culture, your way of life, your lifestyle choices should be between you and your fellow enthusiasts. And if you want to call yourself against objective truth, if you look like John, who's a man, and you want to call yourself Janine, well, look, that's up to you. Fill your boots, do what you want, but don't try to take it into schools to indoctrinate young children that is effectively truth when it's not. To deny what is in front of you as objective truth is in effect an assault on truth itself. Playing us out with another little video clip, asking people if you can fund our channel, if you can fund our work, if you can help us to take a small team to the Supreme Court. Look, I work, I earn money, I put a lot of my own time and effort and money into this here. We do need some equipment. We have a problem, as you can see, with our internet. There are things that we can do, but they're costly in order to try to rectify the screens that we're having. If you can help us in any way by helping us to fund the work that we do, well, you know that it's for your benefit. And all I'm asking is that you perhaps click on that PayPal link, no matter how small that amount is, put a few pounds into it. Now, you have helped us move on in leaps and bounds. You know, we have video making equipment. We have computers capable of cutting videos, software that capable of cutting videos. You know, we have a lot of technology. We've audio recording devices. We can take phone calls if we want. We've got lighting. You know, we've got the makings of a professional outfit right now. But, you know, things need to keep moving on, and we can't afford to do this ourselves. In fact, we will do it, but we'll do it at a slower pace. But if we had some funding, well, we could make things work in a far, far better way. We are not NGOs, non-governmental organizations. We are not being funded to derail society, to corrupt society, to deny objective truth. We are not being funded to do that. We are not being funded for anything. Why? Because that we are a platform of the people, for the people. We are the people's media. Restore UK belongs to the people. We fight the case for and on behalf of the people. We stand up for our values, Judeo-Christian values. Free will in a society is what benefits everyone. Choose you this day whom or what you will serve. It doesn't say that you have to serve this or that or the other. That's up to you, what you want to do. But those values need to be protected from within society. You know, we stand up for the things, you know, we are part, I believe, of the silent majority. And if you're one of those silent majority, well, if you can help our work, click on that PayPal link and pop a few pounds in and contribute to the work that we do at Restore. Make us more professional than we already are. People, thanks very much for coming along. Now, I want to play one more video clip before that I finish. And I want you to listen very, very carefully to what it is that Henry Kissinger actually would have said way back many years ago. You got to excuse me. I think that I have, well, maybe this is, maybe that it isn't. And if it's not, don't worry, we'll soon get it. I want to play this clip. And well, it's just that I've had that many clips in front of my video, or in front of my screen. I'm not too sure which one is which now. But here we go. Let's play this, and then we'll come back. We'll talk some more, and we'll come to a close. But listen very carefully to what it is in this clip, because I believe that it's very relevant. Otherwise, it wouldn't be sitting in front of me, ready to play.
Used to be 3 years younger than me. Now she's 23 years younger. There was not a single solitary Biden man that is younger than any Biden woman.
Well, I don't know what Sleepy Joe was talking about there. Whenever, you know, one minute he's 2 years older than his sister, and the next minute he's 30 odd years older than his sister. I don't know. I don't know. That's the leader of the Western world. That is in charge of denying the objective truth, and in a way that truth becomes irrelevant. Do you know, he reminds me, whenever I look at him, is that who's seen the Flintstone film, in where that they were asking Fred, who was a low IQ guy, to sign off everything, you know, and that is what Joe Biden represents to me. You know, he's not a man that's in control of his senses. You know, he likes to deny the objective truth. Let's just say. So, people, we've come to the end of our screen. It's taken 1 hour and 47 seconds to get here, to get this far. The numbers have stayed relatively high from across the screen. Sorry for the fact that maybe it was a wee bit blurry in cases. I hope that you understood what it is that we're doing. Look, listen, this isn't about, you know, tackling anyone. This is about pleading to people. This is about winning hearts and minds. This is about talking to people and saying, are you sure you know what it is that you're supporting? Is Doug Beattie absolutely sure that he is right whenever he suggests that there should be a complete and utter lifting of the border between Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and it being placed in the internal market of the United Kingdom? Are these Conservatives absolutely sure whenever that they don't fight tooth and nail for whatever it is that they believe in? Sometimes some things have to be stood up for. People, we're going to be playing us out with something here. I'm just going to go into my archives and we'll get us something to play us out. And what I want to do is I want to ask people is that if you could leave your messages in the live chat as we're coming to a close, as we're playing ourselves out. And, you know, don't forget, if you can help us with a bit of funding, you know, pop a few pounds into your PayPal link. But tell us what you thought of this evening. Tell me, are you as frustrated as I am whenever that you see those that claim to represent the people of Northern Ireland, how that it is that well, they're politely, I say, respectfully, I say, you are taking us down the wrong road. And, you know, all I ask is that you listen, that you maybe come to your senses, that you don't deny the objective truth, which is staring you in front of your face. That's all I'm asking. Well, I'm just trying to find something to close with without going on any further. I think we've pressed on enough. I think we've people will understand and grasp exactly what it is that we see. Let me just see. I lost there's John, can't see any comments except the two from Muriel Brush. I don't know actually what has happened there. And I see that Muriel was having problems, I think, sharing or whatever. So and I don't quite know what was happening. But suffice to say is that we'll soon find out, because Muriel normally follows at the channel. I don't know whether she couldn't see, whether I really don't know is the truth of the matter. So listen, leave your messages in the live chat. Don't forget to give us a like, give us a love, give us a share. Still tag people in the live chat if you can help our work by popping a few pounds into your PayPal link. Well, I've got to the point where I'm tired. I have to say, I've been working at this quite a bit, even really into the early hours last evening, cutting these videos to do this stream. There's Muriel and I can't chat or I lose you. Okay, understand, Muriel. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for that there. And please accept my apologies for the state of the screen again this evening. So playing us out, we're going to look for something in our archives here. We're going to look for something that I'll put a smile on everyone's face. Let me just look here. Who do I see? Yeah, I'm going to play this. Let me play this little video clip for a second. And then we'll play us out with something that'll put a smile on everyone's face. I want people to hear this, because what is happening in our society today is that we're being railroaded towards a crisis. And it's not a cost of living crisis, it's a cost of COVID crisis. It's a cost of the collapse in 2008 crisis. It's a cost of the Ukraine war crisis. That's the crisis to which we face. I listened to what Henry Kissinger had to say way back many years ago at the end of the Second World War, and listen to who that it is that served under Henry Kissinger. Listen to what Henry Kissinger had to say.
Food, you control the people. If you control the energy, you control the continent. If you control the money, you control the world.
And then let's back up. A lot of people don't know who Kissinger was. Oh, he's still around. He's still alive.
He's still alive. Yeah, he's still alive.
Who was he?
He's pretty old. Well, he's Secretary of State, right?
For Nixon.
Yeah. So he
opened the door to China.
Opened the door to China, but also, instrumental throughout Europe as well, during that time of the, coming out of the World War II, kind of redrawing the world and setting peace and stuff like that. So he was very influential, and he still is today, right?
And he was teaching at, was it MIT or Yale or one of the big universities is where Klaus Schwab met him and studied under him.
That's right. So Klaus Schwab studied under him. I forget which university it was, but he studied under him, and so he's carried on these same philosophies. Yeah. And I think, people say, "Oh, you're you're cherry picking data. Well, really, like, what are the attack vectors today? So food, we're running out of food. Per the UN, they say 868 million people could starve to death in the next 24 months.